Vaishnavi became the champion in the tournament with 5.5 out of 6 points. So, in this video, I'm going to show you all her 6 games, but the critical moments, the moments where she was able to turn the position around, or the moments where things happened. She was facing Asmi in the first round, and this is a very equal position. Asmi has a Vaishnavi has a slight advantage because of a queen and rook being very active. And in this position, Vaishnavi plays a5, a very nice move. It's inviting the white queen to take this pawn. So Asmi takes it. Her response is after e2, she's planning queen check to defend the g2 square from here. Now she goes queen f3. So it's still equal. Exchange of queens happen, and Vaishnavi gets back a pawn because of active rook. Now here, 4 pawns versus 4 pawns. There is no way to say that either side is better. Asmi plays b4, saving her pawn. Vaishnavi attacks f3 and a3. Asmi defends f3. Vaishnavi takes on a3, and Asmi gets rook d5. So there is no way for Vaishnavi to save this pawn. So this is again an equal position. It's a rook endgame with 3 pawns. Black's pawns are together, but white's pawn is passed. So that makes it around equal. Now in this position, Vaishnavi gets a king into the game. King moves, and this was a critical mistake by Asmi. If she stays in the position with just king f2 or any move, like let's say a rook back, there is no way that Vaishnavi could. She might still make things happen because of a king being active, but let's say she gets a king over here, and from there, how to continue? It's not that easy. But after Asmi played this move, king d2, it becomes very easy for Vaishnavi. She's getting 2 pawns here, but Asmi is not getting any pawns basically. So king e6. Okay, so I wonder why she did not go for rook takes pawn. She could have gone for it, but okay, king moves, and now rook takes pawn. Rook moves. So Asmi is preparing a pawn to advance, but the king is close enough, and the rook is getting another pawn. Oh, as you can see, she did not go after this pawn. She just stops the passed pawn. King moves, and this was a critical mistake. In a position where you are down by a pawn, you cannot afford to exchange the last remaining piece. So Asmi allowed the exchange of rooks, thinking it's equal, but it's not. So black king will stop this pawn, but white's pawns are too far advanced. They can defend each other. And from here, it was an easy win for Vaishnavi. She just got a king into the game, pushed her pawns, and won the game. Let's go to the second round. She was facing Aryan, and this was a critical moment. She has just played knight d5, attacking the queen, attacking the knight, and here Aryan takes with the bishop, which is fine. Pawn takes, and here Aryan had to move his knight back. Instead, he went for bishop takes b2. Remember that the knight is already hanging, so he's thinking he's attacking the rook. So if pawn takes knight, he'll take here. Even that position is bad because 2 pieces for rook is not good. 2 pieces for a rook is good for the side with 2 pieces. But the problem is after rook b1, 2 of his pieces are hanging. So bishop b2 was a critical mistake in this game. And from here, she did not need much to convert. She's basically up by 1 pawn after he found g5. Queen check, knight f5, queen h5. He gets another pawn. Let me just show you the finish. Queen takes, she gets another pawn. One more pawn, and another pawn. So black has no compensation for his 4 pawns. And here she's going after more material. And then c5, c7 falls, and he blundered a rook, and there he resigned. So knight d5 was a critical moment in the game. Third round, she was facing Rutvik, and Rutvik in this position played d4, forgetting that nobody's guarding e4. So he had to first play rook e1 and move the bishop, and then play d4. He played d4 directly, which means she got a pawn here for free. That too a center pawn. And the knight's very active. So you can see black's center is very good. Pawns are controlling the center with d5, the extra pawn. From here, she converted easily. d4 was a nice move. It's a nice tactic because if bishop takes, then there is knight d2. And there is no rook e1 because knight f3 comes with a check. Right? So he moves the bishop to f4. But now the pawn is a pass pawn and it's protected. It's an extra pawn also. And there is no way that she would lose from here. She just converts it without any problems. Bishop moves. Now the queen is slowly coming into the game. Exchange of bishop and knight. The pawn is still passed. Rook e7. Here, I think he should have gone for rook e1 and kept some tension. He just exchanges. Makes it too easy for her. You can see this bishop is completely buried behind these pawns. He tries to bring it into the game, but she's faster. Now the pawn just wins the game for her. Bishop takes, bishop moves. She could have exchanged here, right? Bishop takes, pawn takes, and then rook c8. This is not a problem. Yeah, that would have been the easier win. She goes with this, a slightly more longer win. Now he just loses a piece. He did make it a little hard for her, but and here completely over. Checkmate. So this was the first day for Vaishnavi. She was in 3 out of 3 with several others. Second day was tough. Second day she was facing Atan, and after a lot of moves, they reached this position. Again, her pawn structure is better. This is very similar to the Asmi game. Black has the same number of pawns as white, but black's pawn is weak. It's also passed. So in this position, Atan makes a very serious mistake. He just ignores the pawn. He's thinking he'll get the king active, play rook a4, kick the king back, and then win the game somehow. So that was a big mistake. Here he could have played g5. He could have played rook e5. He could have just stayed here. What could white do, right? White has no way to make any progress. This pawn is supported by the king. This king is cut off from this rank. So after this move though, she just gets a pawn and then she gets another pawn on g7. Check is not important. She gets another pawn and then the passed pawn just run up the board and win the game for her. The king hides and now the pawn promotes. So he resigned here. Fifth round, a very important round for Vaishnavi. She had a terrible position out of the opening, and Aditya had managed to outplay her with his kingside attack. But he could not finish the game in the middle game. He took it to the end game. And in this position, Vaishnavi makes a very serious blunder. She goes for the pawn in game. Material, as you can see, is one pawn up for Aditya. But after rook takes, king takes, she thought this position was equal, that there was no way to make progress. Instead of this, she should have just played rook d4. She would get this pawn, and that's an equal endgame, right? If the king moves, she gets this pawn. The king doesn't move, the position stays the same. But after the exchange of rooks, the pawn endgame is winning for Aditya, and he continues. Well, I mean, it was possible to play a5 here, but okay. Position is still winning. Now the king advances, pawn forward, king moves. This was another important moment because in such positions, you would think it will become a stalemate if you try to promote this pawn. But it wouldn't be because white has still got this. So the easiest way to win such positions is play king here, let her make these moves, king moves, king moves, king moves. Almost stalemate, but now she's forced to play a4. And then you can take, and in 3 moves, you're getting a checkmate. So this is the best way to win such positions. Of course, if there were no moves, it would be stalemate, but this pawn could still move. Instead of that, he goes for the more regular approach of going after these 2 pawns, which is fine. He gets both the pawns, and it's a winning position. b4, king moves, and here he makes a blunder of playing b3. He's playing too fast in a winning position. The lesson here is when you're winning, you have to still play slow. There are still things in the position that could spring up. So in chess, you can never relax until the last move is made. So in this position, the winning idea is just to play a3, king moves, and then play b3, king moves, b2, and queen. So basically a3, king moves, push, king moves, push, and then it's mate. This was how he should have continued, but did not even see the idea of stalemate. And he pushes b3, and that's it. Game over. It's a stalemate. So this was a lucky break for Vaishnavi. If Aditya had won this, he had a very good chance of becoming first. But he blundered and played b3, allowing the draw. And that was that was good luck for Vaishnavi. And as you know, luck favors the brave. So the good players are always lucky. Now the last game, the all crucial game, because if you win this, you probably become the champion. That's the situation Vaishnavi is in. And in this position, Vaishnavi has just played d5. Ahan had a great position so far, and here he's up a pawn, but the pawn will kind of fall, or at least it will be doubled after pawn takes. So here Ahan makes a mistake of playing pawn takes, a tactical mistake. So there is a tactics in the position which wins Vaishnavi a piece, and that is why she went for this. So Han should have just played queen c5, and the pawn cannot take because of queen takes, right? But he immediately grabbed the pawn, allowing rook takes, pawn takes, and queen takes knight. And it's a full piece for black. So Vaishnavi converted it without any difficulty. She just improved her pieces little by little, and then moved around a little bit, and then found the winning idea. Now bishop takes d5. Pawn cannot take because of rook takes rook. So one more pawn fell. Queen check. Another pawn falls. Rook gets exchanged, and it's a full piece up for her. You can actually think of exchanging like this, but you don't need that, right? You have a great position, so you should just hold on. The win will come by itself. King moves, and then queen f4 forces the exchange of queens and makes it a winning piece up endgame. So Vaishnavi, she just took the pawn, starts promoting her pawn, gets a queen, and actually plays on till checkmate and checkmate. So this was the tournament for our champion. She had a good first day, somewhat topsy-turvy second day, but at the end she came through and she became the champion.